each crisis is more dangerous than the one before. So 1998, 2008, here we are in 2022. We're going to get to a point, we may be there, where the crisis is actually bigger than the Fed, bigger than the Fed's ability to stop. We are uncomfortably close. Now, it's impossible to know exactly how close because it's a complex dynamic system, and you can make very good predictions on complex dynamic systems as to the magnitude of the crisis, but it's very hard to get the exact timing. But I can say that we're uncomfortable because now we've been there twice before in recent years. 1998, we came within hours of shutting every market in the world. Began with a Russian default, by the way. August 17th, 1998, Russia defaulted on their external debt, and the ruble was grossly devalued. That started a global liquidity crisis, went around the world, ended up in my lap at Long-Term Capital Management, where we had $1.4 trillion of derivatives. And everyone goes, oh, long-term capital, you guys lost a lot of money in Russia. We didn't. We lost maybe $100 million in Russia, but we lost closer to $4 billion on everything else, because in a liquidity crisis, people sell everything. It's not a question of, do you have Russian bonds? It's like, no, they sell everything. Spreads widen, not enough collateral, margin calls, people being blown out of their positions. That's what a global financial crisis looks like. We cured that with a $4 billion all-cash injection sponsored by the Federal Reserve and two rate cuts, one on an emergency basis by Alan Greenspan. We got through that, but we came within hours of shutting every market in the world. Same thing in 2008. We all know, September 15th, 2008, Lehman Brothers. Okay. People don't realize that, Morgan Stanley was days away from failing. Goldman Sachs was days away from failing. John Mack said so at the time. Lehman was begging for help. He said, sorry, I got enough on my plate. We're worried about Morgan Stanley right now. And then the Fed came in. And so think of it as dominoes are falling. So all the dominoes are falling, and they're going to keep falling unless you truncate it, drop a wall in. And that wall was the Fed. But here's my point. Each bailout gets bigger than the one before. Each crisis is more dangerous than the one before. So 1998, 2008, here we are in 2022. We're going to get to a point, we may be there, where the crisis is actually bigger than the Fed, bigger than the Fed's ability to stop. You want assets that are going to be immune from a global liquidity crisis. What are they? Land, real estate, gold, silver, fine art. I see Andy Warhol, Marilyn Monroe has gone, they estimate $200 million. You could have bought that for $50,000 in the 1970s. That's a little more specialized, but there are, natural resources, water, et cetera, energy, oil. If you want to be in stocks, okay, get stocks of companies that are based on natural resources, such as ExxonMobil, Chevron. I'm just giving these as an example, but so there are a lot of ways to protect yourself. But a regular stock portfolio is not a good one, and banks are going to be in distress, money market funds are going to be in distress. That's what a liquidity crisis is. As to criminalize it, if you supported the truckers under a recent interpretation of Canadian law through Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister, that's a criminal act. So I told Justin, I said, come and get me. But my point being, so she's seizing the accounts of blue-collar truck drivers, and Biden's seizing the accounts of oligarchs. But it's the same thing, okay? Blue-collar, multi-billionaire, but it's the same thing. Suddenly, Canada and the U.S., two of the number one, I think number 5 economy in the world, number 6 maybe, have frozen Canadian dollar and U.S. dollar accounts of people they don't like. Now, you can say it's for good reason, and Putin should have invaded Ukraine. I get it. But if you're a Saudi prince, if you're certainly a Russian, if you're a Chinese oligarch, how comfortable are you with the dollar right now? I haven't met him personally, by the way. I checked him out. Looks like a thoroughly bright guy. But other than carrying Larry Fink's briefcase for a few months, he's a year maybe, he's never had a job outside of academia or government. So he doesn't really understand the real world and doesn't understand what we're discussing right now. So the answer to the question, Danielle, is that they didn't think this through. They don't understand these knock-on effects. They don't understand how the international monetary system actually works. They don't understand the blowback. I'll give you another example. This one has received some publicity. So we throw all kinds of sanctions on Russia. So Russia said, okay, we're going to stop Russian exports of strategic metals and chemicals and other elements that everyone else needs for inputs in their manufacturing processes. And they put a ban on exports of nickel. Well, okay, so you need nickel to make batteries, so good luck with your electric vehicles. Okay, so U.S. throws sanctions on Russia. Russia retaliates by banning nickel exports. The price of nickel goes to the moon. It went up by a factor of 4 or 5. That's really not surprising. London Metal Exchange fell down. They had to close. Yeah. Okay, but who lost? There was a Chinese billionaire who owns one of the largest nickel mining operations in the world, who lost, I think, $5 or $6 billion. So here's Russia and the U.S. fighting an economic war, and the loser pops up in China. That wasn't on his radar screen, and that wasn't on anybody else's radar screen. But it's a good example where the damage shows up when you don't expect it.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Stan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave. You forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Stan.